Hello guys, how you doing? So today's video is all about Shanahan. I think the conversation has been about Dubas, but the real conversation is, what is Shanahan doing? What is he thinking? Has he been incorrect over the past 9 years? Has he made mistakes? Has he made a mistake with Dubas and the way he's handled it? Not necessarily getting rid of him, but the way it's happened. Is this right? And what should we do going forward? So I've got 4 points to talk about, and I'm going to talk about both sides to try and give a balanced argument, because I think balanced arguments are missing from Toronto Maple Leafs fans. They don't seem to be able to have rational conversations and make points and counterpoints. So let's have a think. So first of all, Shanahan's been here 9 years. He got rid of Nonis. He brought in Lou for 3 years. And then he did Dubas. Okay, so Nonis had to go. We made one playoff run in the 10 years prior to Lou. Lou got us into the playoffs after his first year, and he got us in twice on the strength of moves like Zach Hyman and Freddie Anderson particularly. So that's pretty good going by Lou. I have to go back and do the research, but as I recall, Lou wanted to leave, or did Shanahan push him out? I'll double check. It's a key point because I think Lou Lamoriello has been quite successful in New York because he got to two conference finals. We won one round. And now you could say, some Leaf fans would tell me, well, conference finals, that's just second place. Are you happy with that? It's like, well, no, everybody wants to win the cup, but there's 32 teams. And if each team wins the cup once every year, you'll only get a cup every 32 years, you know. So, and we have teams like Tampa who got into the finals 3 times and won twice. We had Chicago winning twice, right? So there's someone not winning a cup. So I don't know, I think for most fans, a reasonable bar would be a conference final for the Leafs. Considering they had Austin Matthews, William Nylander, and Mitch Marner coming in 2017-18, and we knew they were going to be a powerhouse in terms of offensive output. So the job in 2018 was to build a team around those players that could go on a run. And I would say bare minimum one run to the conference finals, like win 2 rounds and get to the third, basically is what we're saying here, right? The best we got was barely beating Tampa, a beat up, tired, they've been played an extra season than anyone else, Tampa, and Tampa almost won. And then Florida just walked all over us. I'm sorry, I don't think there's any argument that we did anything in that series. So, from my point of view, Lou is a much better GM. Has he made mistakes? Yes, but does he have the litany, like the huge shopping list of mistakes that Dubas has made? Dubas has given away 6 first-round picks. 6 that I can think of off the top of my head. That's madness. Now the question is, in those 9 years, who's responsible for this situation? Would you say it's not the GM's fault, or sorry, it's not Shanahan's fault as the president, it's the GM's fault? In which case, Dubas goes, Shanahan gets a great new GM in, and everything's building up again. We do well. Which will be hard because we have no picks, and we have UFAs up the wazoo, and we have 4 major contracts coming up in the next 2 years. Like, it's going to be chaos. It's going to be absolutely really, really rocky waters to navigate. Can Shanahan pick the right guy to do that? I say no, and I'm going to tell you why in this video. So what do you think? Please comment and tell me, do you think Shanahan's responsible? Those are the first 2 points. I mean, are you happy? Basically, the second point is Cup final was the bar, I think. Cup final should have happened, if not a cup. And I mean, there are Leaf fans who will say they're happy with 1 round win. But 1 round in 5 or 6 years is just pathetic with that team, with those players. You know, it's a cultural problem, as we know. So is Shanahan responsible for that? Okay. Next question. Shanahan puts Dubas in place as the GM whilst Babcock was the coach. This was a mistake because they had completely different philosophies. And it took a year with the two of them and then a bad start to the next year for Dubas to get rid of Babcock. Now, if Babcock wasn't the right guy for the job, why did Dubas and Lou put him in there? Or Shanahan and Lou put him in there? Was Shanahan, that's my biggest question, is what hand has Shanahan had in building this team and making these trades? Because they're pathetic, and just hyperbole again, sorry, but what was his input? Because he's brought in Dubas, and what I see, he's brought in Dubas with Babcock, and you're like, well, those two are never going to work together. That's a mistake. The philosophies are completely different. Babcock is for rock'em sock'em hockey, hard-nosed coach, Mike Keenan, and Dubas is for analytics, soft, lovey-dovey, woke. I'll give you whatever contract it is you ask me for, and aren't we all friends and happy? Ooh, isn't Toronto a nice place to play? Like, those two are never going to work well together, right? So, is Shanahan responsible for that? Next, okay, I asked this already, but did Shanahan give Dubas free rein to trade? If he did, why didn't he step in when all of these horrible trades were being made? I'll go first off with the first round picks. So there's 6 off the top of my head. There's Marlowe, the Muzzin trade, Foligno, Mrazek, Ryan O'Reilly, and Jake McCabe. And out of all that, we are left with 2 years of Jake McCabe, a third pairing defenseman at best. That is not good enough. Is it? And if Shanahan had no say in this, what has he been doing? Oh, no, nothing to do with me. I'm off to golf. Leave it to Dubas. In which case he hasn't done his job. And if he has been part of these trades, they're huge mistakes because we have no future now. And we got nothing back. And that's also a mistake. And why didn't he step in and stop the guy from making these trades? I said this before. Hear me out very carefully. Go check Leafs Digest chats. I said long before the trade deadline, when Dubas had that stupid press conference when he said, oh, I'm just here to say hi and don't really have a reason other than to say we're not trading any picks away to try and win in the playoffs. To which I said, oh shit, he's going to trade away all of our picks and to try and win and save his job. Didn't work out. For this is another story, right? But why did Shanahan let him do that? Is he responsible? I say he is. That's his job, right? The other argument people would make is, well, it's up to the players on the ice. And I think that is a load of nonsense because, as you saw in Florida, you make the trades you need. You demand better of the players. You put the right people in place and they will deliver. You put the wrong people who never perform in the playoffs year after year after year. You know who I'm talking about. You put them in place, and what do you get? Loss, loss, loss. I think it's Shanahan and Dubas' responsibility, those losses. Because the players are who they are. And you could see right in the last minute, right before the trade deadline, Acciari, Lafferty, Shen, Ryan O'Reilly, McCabe. All completely different players philosophically to the ones Dubas had gone with the 5 years previous. We traded Mason Marchment for Dennis Mulligan. Not saying Mason Marchment is the best player in the world, but he is Dallas's second-line left winger. Wouldn't that be nice to have a second-line left winger? and Dallas is in the conference finals, so he's doing something right. Apparently, Dallas fans tell me he's in the penalty box too much. But he's rough, he's tough, he plays, digs in the corners, scores, passes. He's a decent player. He's got a good contract with Dallas. For Mulligan, who's a softie, we're talking this year, not a long time ago, right? Beginning of this season. Mulligan played up until December. What is this nonsense, you know? Mulligan went to Colorado, Colorado gets knocked out. So who's responsible? I say Shanahan is responsible for overseeing all that. Finally, Shanahan's decision to fire Dubas reeks of short-term thinking yet again. If Dubas was the man for the next 5 years, and Dubas is having problems with family, problems with the job, stress, okay, understandable when you don't know what you're doing, and in Toronto anyway, right? You didn't hear that stuff from Lou. You never hear that from Lou, do you? No. If that was the case, so you see the press conference and you go, man, this guy's in a bad spot. Understandable. You don't, if he's your guy for 5 years, you don't knee-jerk reaction, fire him, and then go on and have a press conference and explain all the details of you walking into the what is it, the Ford Center for Achievement? It's not a stupid thing like that. You don't give all those details. Like, what the hell are you doing? If he's your man for 5 years, you go into his office quietly and you say, you're our man. I love what you're doing here. I believe we're going to win with you. How can I help you? That's the conversation you have. So for me, it reeks of sort of Shanahan not doing anything for a very long time, finally becoming frustrated and then finding an excuse to get rid of Dubas and blaming Dubas for the failures. But this is a really poor way to handle it. If Dubas, let Dubas resign. You know, if Dubas wants to resign, he should just say, I've had enough. I need a break. I've done my best. I need to reevaluate what I'm doing with my career, and I need to take care of my family. And everyone would have said, okay, like, go out with your head held high like a man and say, we would all just say, fair enough, you know? Instead, we have this whining crap, and then Shanahan, knee-jerk reaction, fires him. To me, that reeks of bad management by Shanahan. And I said before the playoffs, looking at Sheldon Keefe's body language, Dubas' body language, the players, shoulders hunched, shrugging shoulders, oh, we lost, process, it's a process, doing our best, learning our lessons, you know, head down. What's wrong with this team? So there's a huge problem, and I say that goes back to Shanahan because there's no direction. That's what I think the problem is. Shanahan, a friend pointed out very wisely, should know what a winning Stanley Cup team looks like. Detroit, right? He was on one. So I think you have to look at that big picture as a manager. And I think you need to support the GM if he's really the guy who knows how to do the job. Not come on and say, oh, he said he was tired and his family was upset, so I fired him. Like, and it doesn't matter if it's in public. You know, Dubas did that. It doesn't matter. People will forget. Take him aside in the office and say, hey, what's going on? How do I help you? And then let Dubas come out and say, you know, I'm going to take a break. Or let Shanahan come out and say, look, I'm going to speak for Dubas. We talked. He said he needs a break. No problem. But you fire him because he said it's stressful on his family. That's why you fired the guy you just offered a 5-year contract to. Something's very, very, very wrong there. And I say it's Shanahan. And I think Shanahan has to go. I think he's a problem. Now, if we get the right GM in, you can play hands off. If you have another Lou, safe hands, Lou. You know, how many cups has he won? New Jersey, etc. If you get someone of that caliber in, you can play hands off, and we might be okay. But my gut feeling is Shanahan hasn't had a lot of input, or he has, and it's just gone. No, I think he hasn't. I think it was Dubas, because all of those trades reek of Dubas's, you know, reliance on the Marlies, reliance on signing UFAs, reliance on European, Russian players who no one's heard of to fill gaps. You know. So anyway, I think Shanahan gone. Don't like it. It's been 9 years. That's enough. Let's get a winner in. We got Cliff Fletcher in 1991. 92, we went on a cup run to the conference finals. It was great fun. We believed in the team. They were workmen. They were workhorses. You know, the Nattresses, the McCowans. You know the whole story. And they did it for 2 years, and it was fun. And that's all we're asking for, is a team we can believe in, not a team of whiners who want to play golf and complain and want bigger contracts. I'm finished with them. I say Shanahan out.